Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, let's start with this really striking photograph we found. It's from May 1941, and it shows Eccellenza Emilio Grazioli, High Commissioner of the Province of Ljubljana.
Excellency, excellency. It sounds quite dignified.
It really does, but it clashes quite sharply, actually, with the reality of his administration, which was, frankly, brutal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Grazioli, he's more than just some historical figure. You could almost call him an archetype. The zealous, even criminal, fascist official. His career gives us a dramatic look into how these, totalitarian systems actually function through people like him.
Right. So our mission in this deep dive is to trace his story, from his early days involved in violent fascist actions right through to his death, completely unpunished for his worst crimes.
Yeah.
It's like a microcosm of the whole Italian fascist project, isn't it?
It really is.
And we'll unpack some surprising paradoxes. You have the supposed moderate administrator who literally puts a fence around a capital city, an official who saves Jewish refugees, but only by deporting them elsewhere, and a war criminal who gets tried, yes, but never, ever for his most cruel actions in Ljubljana.
And looking at him exposes so much that ideology of expansion, the methods of violent assimilation they used, and critically, those post-war political games that let people like Grazioli just walk away. It's a serious warning about impunity, even today.
And these actions, they weren't just improvised on the spot, were they? Grazioli seems to have specialized in what you might call ethnic engineering.
That's a good way to put it. He honed that craft, if you can call it that, over 2 decades, primarily on Italy's contested eastern border.
The Carso region.
Exactly. That was his laboratory. He orchestrated the forced dissolution of Slovene cultural groups, coerced loyalty oaths, pushed people into fascist organizations. It was all very systematic, very bureaucratic social control.
So he brought that exact model to Ljubljana when Italy occupied Slovenia in 1941. But didn't he initially present a more moderate face, even promise some kind of autonomy?
Well, yes, but that was pure imperial strategy, calculated. The autonomy was just a legal fiction, like a gilded cage. Grazioli kept all the real power.
And that facade didn't last long.
Not at all. As soon as partisan resistance started growing, that whole moderate act crumbled. He became absolutely central to the escalating terror campaign.
Which culminated, I believe, when Grazioli gave the order to encircle the entire city of Ljubljana with an 18-kilometer barbed wire fence, basically turning, 100,000 people into prisoners in their own city?
An open-air prison, precisely. And he followed that up immediately with mass roundups, deporting hundreds, maybe thousands to concentration camps. This wasn't just military action, it was bureaucratic terror. He was signing joint orders with military commanders, authorizing these completely disproportionate reprisals. He integrated military brutality right into the civil administration.
Okay, but then there's this strange paradox regarding how he handled Jewish refugees in Ljubljana. How did that work?
It's complicated. Grazioli definitely didn't want them in his province. He saw them as a problem, a burden, He specifically opposed setting up local camps for them there.
So what was his solution then?
He argued, quite forcefully, for deporting them to internment camps inside Italy. His motives seemed purely administrative and, frankly, economic-slanted. He even suggested wealthier Jews should pay for their own internment transport and upkeep.
Wow.
But by moving them to Italian-controlled camps like Ferramonte di Tarsia, he unintentionally shielded thousands, because the alternative would have been handing them over to the Germans or the Croatian Ustash, who would have sent them directly to extermination camps.
So a completely cynical bureaucratic decision ends up accidentally saving lives.
Exactly. And that outcome, unfortunately, later got twisted into this myth of Italians being good people during the war, obscuring the deeply criminal nature of his administration and others like it.
So after all this, what actually happened to Grazioli? What was his fate?
Well, after Mussolini fell, he stayed loyal to the Salo Republic, the RSI. But here's the thing. When he was finally put on trial in 1946, the charges only focused on his role during 1943-1945 under the RSI.
Wait, so all his crimes as High Commissioner in Ljubljana, the fence, the mass deportations, the conditions that led to thousands of deaths, they just ignored all that?
Completely ignored in court.
What?
He was convicted, yes, but only for political collaboration during the later period. Got a 12-year sentence, which was immediately reduced to just 4 months served.
4 months? How?
The Togliatti Amnesty of 1946. It was a broad amnesty aimed at, quote-unquote, national reconciliation. But really, Cold War politics were kicking in. Italy was becoming a key Western ally against communism, and prosecuting fascist war criminals just wasn't a priority anymore. Justice took a backseat.
So Grazioli just retired.
Yep. Lived out his life quietly, died undisturbed in 1969. And his legacy really is that archetype we mentioned, the dedicated fascist functionary. He embodies that terrible continuity from the early street violence of the squadristi right through to cold, bureaucratic terror.
And his impunity, it stands as a symbol of Italy's post-war collective amnesia, doesn't it? Where confronting the past was sacrificed for reconciliation and geopolitics.
It's a stark warning. Totalitarian systems don't just run on dictators. They rely heavily on people like Grazioli's zealous, efficient bureaucrats who translate hateful ideology into state policy and daily practice.
So maybe here's something for you, our listeners, to think about. What are the real lasting consequences, historically, morally, when a nation decides it's easier to just turn the page on past crimes instead of truly confronting them head on? Something to mull over until our next deep dive.